You are drifting. The deep black presses against your ship. It is a quiet unlike any other. Stars burn in silence millions of miles away. You listen to the hum of your own vessel, the gentle thrum of life support, the whisper of recycled air. Everything is normal. Everything is as it should be. Then you hear it, a pulse. It is not on any sensor. It does not register on your comms. It is a feeling more than a sound. A faint beat in the bones of your ship, a vibration in your teeth. You check the scanners again. Nothing, just empty space and distant suns. The pulse comes again, a little stronger this time. It feels like a secret, a whisper shared between dying stars. Old spacers have stories about this, tales told over cheap synthale in crowded starports. They speak of the ghost signal, the void heartbeat. They say it is a boy, a child whose voice can unmake reality, whose every word is laced with antimatter. A silly legend, you always thought, a way to explain the weirdness of deep space. But the pulse returns, a clear and steady rhythm, and you wonder if the legends are true. Far from your listening post, a boy drifts too. His name is Jace. He is alone inside a dead ship, a metal coffin tumbling through the void. He is an orphan of a forgotten war. He knows nothing but cold panels and flickering emergency lights. He has never felt sunshine on his skin. He is small for his age. His clothes are rags salvaged from crew lockers. Hunger is a constant ache in his belly. The ship's last energy reserves are failing. The red lights blink slower now. The air grows thin and cold. Jace huddles near a cracked viewport. He watches the dying glow of a nebula. Its colors are faint, like a fading bruise. He takes a breath. It is a desperate gasp for air that is barely there. But he breathes in more than just nitrogen and oxygen. He inhales the light of that dying star cluster. Something ignites within his chest. It is not heat, it is a cool fire. A crackling strand of pure energy shoots from his lips. It is a whisper of gold and black lightning. The energy strikes a dead console nearby. The screen flickers to life for a single second. It displays a single impossible word. Listen, you are not the only one who noticed the pulse. Deep in the core of a hollowed asteroid, they felt it too. They are the guardians of the lost archive, ancient scholars, beings of immense patience and knowledge. They have watched the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their forms are draped in simple gray robes. Their faces are hidden in shadow. They sit around a central viewing chamber. The chamber is not made of screens or glass. It is a pool of captured starlight. It shows them anything they wish to see. Today, it shows them the derelict ship. It shows them the small boy inside. An elder, his voice like shifting dust, speaks. The awakening has begun. Another answers, her tone like cracking ice. Just as the star science predicted, they do not seem surprised. They seem relieved, or perhaps afraid. They have waited for this boy. He is the key to a prophecy written in the code of creation, a voice to calm the coming storm, or a voice to unleash an even greater one. They watch the boy, Jace, as he touches the console. The captured starlight in their chamber ripples. The prophecy is now in motion. The Guardians brought Jace to the archive. He was no longer a cold and hungry orphan. He was their student, their hope. They took him to a place deep within the asteroid, a place they called the Void Forge. It was a chamber of absolute nothing. The walls were made of gravity plates. They absorbed all light, all sound, all energy. Here, there was only Jace and the particles. A sea of quarks and leptons dancing on the edge of existence. His first lesson was simple. Speak. Jace tried to say his own name. The sound died in his throat. The forge was designed to steal sound. He took a deeper breath, remembering the derelict ship. He focused on that cool fire inside him. Jace, he whispered. A ripple spread through the particle sea. A tiny wave of creation in the perfect nothing. His training lasted for years. He learned to modulate his voice. He could hum a low note and create a shield of hardened space-time. He could sing a high note and make particles swarm like bees. The Guardians taught him control. They taught him that his voice was a tool, not a weapon. But every tool can be used to build or to break. The choice would be his. The day of his first real test arrived. A distress call came from a mining colony. The outpost was named Kepler's Hope, a very optimistic name for a rock in a bad neighborhood. A rogue energy pulse was heading right for it. It was a remnant of an old star battle, a wave of pure destruction. The Guardians could not stop it with their ships. Their technology was for preserving, not for fighting. They turned to Jace. He stood in the Void Forge. The starlight pools showed him the colony, tiny domes clinging to a gray moon. He could see the fear in the miners' faces. Jace closed his eyes. He did not need to be there to be heard. He reached out with his senses, feeling the pulse. It was a scream of chaotic energy. It was discord. It was pain. He understood it. He began to sing. It was not a song of words. It was a song of pure tone, a low, calm frequency that resonated across the system. His voice traveled through the void. It touched the rogue pulse. The wave of energy did not explode. It simply collapsed, folding in on itself. The scream became a whisper, then silence. On Kepler's Hope, the miners looked at their sensors in disbelief. The threat was gone. They would never know who saved them. Your ship picks up a new signal. This one is not a subtle pulse. It is the roar of 100 engines. A fleet tears through the fabric of space. Their ships are jagged and black, like shards of obsidian. They move with a predator's grace. This is the Shadow Fleet, the stuff of nightmares for frontier worlds. They are known as the Cathar, a species of collectors. They do not conquer planets for territory. They harvest unique resources, rare metals, exotic life forms, unusual forms of energy. Their spies had heard whispers of the boy, a voice that could manipulate antimatter. To them, he was the ultimate prize. Their armada glides toward the frontier sector. Their engines hum like a swarm of angry insects. It is a sound that promises ruin. They are not interested in Kepler's Hope. They are heading for a single, hollowed-out asteroid, the home of the Lost Archive. On board the lead vessel, the commander watches his view screen. He sees the faint energy signature left by Jace's song. A smile spreads across his thin gray lips. It is not a pleasant expression. The hunt was on. He would claim the boy's power for his own. The Shadow Fleet arrived. 100 black ships surrounded the archive. They did not fire their weapons. The Cathar commander sent a simple message. Send out the anomaly, or we will crack this rock open. The Guardians were scholars, not warriors. They had no defense against such a force. Jace volunteered to go. He would meet the commander. The Guardians prepared a small shuttle. They escorted him to a place called the Echo Chamber, a neutral space station built into a floating crystal. It was a place for diplomacy, a place where words mattered more than warships, which was great since words were his specialty. He stood before the Cathar commander. The alien was tall and thin. He wore armor that seemed to drink the light. Jace's voice trembled like a quivering filament. He was just a boy, facing the conqueror of worlds. The commander laughed, a dry rasping sound. You are the weapon? You are just a child. Jace took a breath. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He spoke. His words were calm, measured. Each syllable rippled through the chamber. The air grew still. The commander's cruel smile faltered. A barrier of pure calm was forming between them. It was not a physical shield. It was a wall of understanding, a suggestion of peace. The commander felt his own anger fading, replaced by a strange and unfamiliar quiet. While Jace negotiated, a shadow moved within the archive. Elder Ones was one of the most respected guardians. His knowledge of star science was unmatched. He had watched Jace's training with great interest. But his interest was not born of hope. It was born of envy and fear. Ones believed the prophecy was a warning, not a promise. He thought Jace's power was too dangerous to exist. It would draw every predator in the galaxy to them. He had secretly contacted the Cathar weeks ago. He offered them a deal. He would help them capture the boy. In return, they would leave the archive and its knowledge untouched. He moved silently through the archive's data vaults. He carried a small crystalline device. It was designed to record and mimic resonance patterns. While Jace spoke in the echo chamber, Ones activated his device. It captured a tiny fragment of Jace's song, a single, perfect note of calm. He transmitted the recording to the Cathar flagship. To them, it was a key, a way to understand the boy's power, a way to build a weapon to counter it, or worse, to amplify it for their own purposes. The commander, still feeling the effects of Jace's calm, received the data. His smile returned. The negotiation was just a distraction. The betrayal was complete. The commander's demeanor shifted instantly. The calm was shattered by his renewed greed. "A charming trick," he hissed. His guard seized Jace. The negotiation was over. They threw the boy into the brig of their flagship. The cell was lined with a resonance-dampening field. His voice was now just a normal boy's voice, powerless. Jace sat on the cold metal floor. He felt the betrayal like a physical blow. Someone from the archive had helped them. He felt despair creeping in, but then he remembered his training in the Void Forge. The Guardians taught him more than just control. They taught him to listen. He closed his eyes and listened to the ship around him. He heard the thrum of the engines, the chatter of the crew, and something else, a faint hum beneath the floor, a power conduit carrying the ship's raw energy. It was shielded, but its frequency was unstable. It was a flaw. Jace placed his hands on the floor. He could not project his voice outward, so he focused it inward. He began a low, silent chant, a vibration that matched the conduit's flawed frequency. It was not a sound, but a resonance. The floor beneath him began to shake. A hairline crack appeared in the metal. He pushed harder. The chant grew stronger. The crack widened, then shattered. The gate of his star-born prison broke open. Jace escaped into the ship's corridors. Alarms blared. Cathar soldiers scrambled to find him. He was small and quick. He made his way to an escape pod bay. He launched himself back into the void. His tiny pod streaked away from the Cathar flagship. But where could he go? He was one boy against a fleet. He saw his destination ahead, a swirling cloud of gas and dust, the Nebula Rift, a treacherous place full of stellar radiation and gravitational anomalies. No sane pilot would fly in there, which made it the perfect battlefield. He dove his pod into the glowing chaos. The Shadow Fleet followed him. They were confident their shields could handle the nebula. They were wrong. Jace began to sing. His voice now echoed and amplified by the nebula's strange physics. Each note he sang carved a path through the fire. He hummed a low tone, and a wave of gas solidified into a crystalline barrier, smashing into a Cathar fighter. He sang a high, sharp note. It focused the nebula's radiation into a tight beam. The beam sliced through the wing of a cruiser. The Cathar were panicking. Their sensors were useless in the rift. They were fighting a ghost, a phantom who commanded the storm itself. The boy and the fleet clashed amid swirling colors, a war painted with starlight and sound. Back in the archive, the Guardians watched in horror and awe. They saw the betrayal. They saw the battle raging in the nebula. Elder Ones stood among them. His face was a mask of regret. He saw the monster he had unleashed. The Cathar were not just trying to capture Jace now. They were trying to destroy him. Ones knew the fragment of the song he gave them. He knew how they would use it. They were creating a resonance weapon, a frequency that would cancel out Jace's power completely, leaving him defenseless. He had to undo what he had done. He ran from the viewing chamber. He went to the archive's core transmitter, a device used to send messages of peace across the stars. He recalibrated it. He knew Jace's full resonant frequency. He knew its every nuance. He would not send a counter-frequency. He would send an amplification. He would pour his own life energy into the transmission. He placed his hands on the console. "Forgive me," he whispered to the uncaring stars. He activated the transmitter. A wave of pure energy surged from the archive. It was his life, his knowledge, his regret, all focused into a single beam. It struck Jace, not as a weapon, but as a gift. Jace felt his power surge 100-fold. He also felt the light of Elder Ones flicker and die. It was the ultimate sacrifice. Jace felt the Elder sacrifice flood through him, power unlike anything he had ever known. The grief and the energy combined within him. The song he was singing changed. It was no longer a song of battle. It became a hymn of creation, a roar of pure order against the Cathar's chaos. His voice reached a crescendo. The nebula itself seemed to hold its breath. The swirling gases and dust began to spiral. They were drawn toward him, toward the sound. The Cathar ships tried to pull away, but they were caught in a gravitational whirlpool of Jace's making. The boy's voice was now a force of nature. At the heart of the spiral, a new light was born. It was not the fire of a star. It was a radiant tower of pure void. A pillar of shimmering antimatter held in perfect balance. It did not destroy, it stabilized. The chaotic energies of the nebula were tamed. The gravitational anomalies smoothed out. The very fabric of space in that sector seemed to mend itself. The Cathar flagship, caught near the beacon's berth, was not torn apart. Its engines simply died. Its weapon systems went dark. Its crew was plunged into a profound and dreamless sleep. The antimatter beacon pulsed with a steady, gentle light. It had steadied the shattered frontier. The battle was over. The surviving Cathar ships fled. Their fleet was broken. Their commander was lost in a silent slumber. They would not be returning to this sector of space. The fear they had spread for so long was finally gone. From the bridge of your ship, you watch the new beacon. It pulses like a calm heart. On Kepler's Hope, the miners cheered. On a dozen other frontier worlds, people looked up at the new star in their sky. They did not know how it was made. They only knew that it was a symbol of safety, a lighthouse in the endless dark. Hope spread on light waves across distant worlds. Jace drifted in his small pod, watching his creation. He was exhausted. The power had left him as quickly as it came. He was just a boy again. A single Guardian shuttle approached him. It was a solemn and quiet journey back to the archive. They had won, but they had lost one of their own. The beacon remained, a permanent testament to the day a boy's voice reshaped the stars. Trade routes that were once too dangerous became safe. New colonies were planned. The frontier was no longer a place of fear. It was a place of new beginnings. All because of the impossible song. You hear the stories now on every data stream. They call him the Silent Singer. It is a strange name for someone whose power is their voice. But the legend says his greatest works were done in the quietest tones. A whisper that could calm a storm. A hum that could build a star. Tales of Jace travel on wind-carried data streams. They are told in colony schools and around freighter campfires. On distant worlds, children try to mimic his tone. They hum to their toys, trying to make them float. They sing to their gardens, hoping to make the plants grow stronger. Of course, it never works. But it is the trying that matters. The guardians of the lost archive became less reclusive. They began sharing their knowledge more freely. They taught others the importance of balance. They used the beacon as a lesson, a demonstration that great power could be used to create, not just to destroy. Jace became a teacher himself, though he rarely spoke above a whisper. His legacy was not one of conquest or fear. It was a legacy of peace, a reminder that the smallest voice could make the biggest difference. He had shaped a future he could never have imagined. Back in that cold, derelict ship, it turns out, sometimes the universe is listening. You close the chronicle, the data stream ends. The story is over, but the feeling remains. You look out of your viewport. You see the distant, steady pulse of the antimatter beacon. It is still there, a monument to a single extraordinary life. The universe still hums with his lingering song. You can feel it if you listen closely, not with your ears, but with your soul. It is in the quiet hum of your ship's engine. It is in the gentle rotation of the planets. It is the underlying harmony of everything. The boy who spoke in Antimatter gave the galaxy a gift. He gave it a moment of perfect quiet, a moment of absolute harmony. And in that quiet, a new future was born. You lean back in your pilot's chair. You close your eyes, and for the first time in a long time, you just listen to the silence, to the song,